2 วันที่ผ่านมาเนี้ยเราพูดถึงประโยชน์ของ Bitcoin ไปแล้วใช่ไหมครับผมแต่ว่าแล้วถ้าเกิด Bitcoin มันไม่มีอินเทอร์เน็ตล่ะครับมันจะยังสามารถใช้งานได้หรือเปล่าครับพี่นิ่ม
เทนโดถามได้ดีมากเลยค่ะ เพราะในแพนเนลถัดไปนะคะ เราได้รับเกียรติจาก Developer ค่ะ ที่พัฒนาให้ Bitcoin สามารถใช้งานได้แม้มีข้อจำกัดในเรื่องของอินเทอร์เน็ตหรือการเข้าถึงสมาร์ทโฟนนะคะ อย่างทวีปแอฟริกาใต้ค่ะ Unlocking Bitcoin's potential for billions. Let's hear from Kgothatso Ngako as he takes the stage to present Machankura enabling Bitcoin for the global south.
ขอเชิญพบกับแพนเนลที่มีชื่อว่า Machankura Enabling Bitcoin for the Global South กับสปีกเกอร์ของพวกเราโคทัสโซงาโค CEO ของ Machankura ขอเสียงปรบมือด้วยครับ
เชิญค่ะ
Hello everyone. I hope you are having a wonderful day. I am Kgothatso Ngako from Machankura. And just in case you do not know, Machankura is a South African slang term for money. Right? So I think that would be the Thai equivalent if I named it in Thai. And 8333.mobi is our website. 8333 is the default Bitcoin port, and .mobi is a top level domain. And yeah, we just want to be like the default port for Bitcoin for mobile users, right? And any type of mobile users, not just smartphone users, but people with old feature phones as well. Feature phones like these, your 3310s. The person with this device should be able to send and receive Bitcoin. And yeah, so let's get into it. Effectively, Bitcoin is a digitally encoded system transmitted permissionlessly over a decentralized network, right? And yeah, so for you to send Bitcoin, the receiver needs to be able to receive Bitcoin, right? And for a receiver to want to receive Bitcoin, they need to be able to later send Bitcoin, right? And everything else is an implementation detail. Just in case you don't know what those random two numbers are, or two strings are, the first one on the left is Satoshi's first transaction to Hal Finney. And the second one on the right is Hal Finney spending the Bitcoin that he got sent from Satoshi. Right? Those are the transaction hashes. If you scan the QR code, you will see the transactions on the mempool.space block explorer. And of course, Hal Finney received Bitcoin because he believed he could send Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a payment network, and networks require at least two participants, right? So I was trying to orange pill people in South Africa, and every time I tried to send someone Bitcoin, they either did not have internet on their phone, did not have a smartphone, or did not have enough space to install a new app. So this is why we built Machankura, right? And then now the question is, do you need internet to send Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is data, right? So we can reframe the question differently. Do you need internet to send data? Right? Well, data can be digitally encoded to be transmitted via any suitable medium. Right? This is why we have newspapers. This is why we have USB drives. This is why we have Blu-ray discs. Right? So you could technically sell Blu-ray discs of Bitcoin blocks or CDs of Bitcoin blocks with Bitcoin transactions in them, and people could use them to sync the Bitcoin blockchain if they so wished. So then Bitcoin is data once again. So Bitcoin could be digitally encoded and transmitted through any suitable medium as well, right? And so this means that any of these devices could be used to transmit Bitcoin, right? On the top left, that's a Raspberry Pi. And fun fact, Machankura was initially built to run on a BlackBerry Pi, right? The first nodes that we were using to run our service were running on the BlackBerry Pi. The first Lightning nodes was running on a BlackBerry Pi. And yeah, so a lot of people still use BlackBerry Pis today, or one of the cheapest computers you could buy, but just use an old laptop. It's way better than a BlackBerry Pi. And on the top right, that's an OpenDime, right? So that is effectively how you would send a person Bitcoin without even an on-chain transaction because on it stores Bitcoin and doesn't reveal the private key until you punch a hole into the open dime itself. So if I have some Bitcoin on that USB stick looking thing, I just give you the open dime and then you have all the Bitcoin on there, knowing that the private key has never been revealed to anyone else in the world, and you can later pass it on. And so this would be how you send Bitcoin without internet or without a Bitcoin transaction effectively, by physically transmitting it to somebody else. And of course the Nokia 3310, which is, you know, one of the world's most iconic phones. And yeah, if you don't have one of these, just keep it in the drawer just for the nostalgia. And yeah, of course, most people today, when they are sending or receiving Bitcoin, are using smartphones, right? So let's zoom in a little bit on the feature phone. And now the question is, how do you actually get a person who's using Nokia 3310 to send and receive Bitcoin? Right? The answer is quite simple. There's something called USSD, which you can program to present a person with a menu. And yeah, what I would like is for the Machankura service to be accessible via the *833# USSD code, but of course we cannot get that in all the countries we are in, so we have to comply with regulations and dial whatever code they give us. So let me see if you can zoom into that. Oh, okay, no, it can't work. So, oh, okay, there's zooming, zoom, okay, cool. So I just dialed the USSD code and then requesting. I don't know if it will go through because, oh yeah, cool, it went through. And it's asking for a language, isiZulu, Afrikaans, English, blah, blah, blah. So let me say English, which is option 3. And then back to the zoomed in, please. Okay, right over here. Oh wait, which camera? Right, okay, cool. And then, okay, that message is not visible, but effectively, that would be what the live demo looks like. Blur, and then it's like, English again. So, okay, it timed out. But anyway, back to the slide presentation. So what happens is I dial the USSD code over here. It gets to the telecom. And since I'm roaming, the telecom then passes it on via the cloud to whichever telecom will get it to my servers in South Africa. And then my servers respond with a message, which is, welcome to Machankura. Option 1, send Bitcoin. Option 2, receive Bitcoin. Option 3, whatever is option 3, right? Balance and more. Option 4, exchange or barter Bitcoin. Option 5, exchange Bitcoin. Option 6, clans, which is maybe a feature I'll talk about a little later on. And then on the user device, the user sees the message, welcome to Machankura, send Bitcoin, receive Bitcoin, so on and so forth, right? And so then the user inputs one of the options, option 1, then the process, once again, the telecom over the cloud to my servers come back with a response, and then it says, to receive Bitcoin, to send Bitcoin, select how you'd like to send it. Phone number, lightning invoice, I forgot what 3 years, username probably. Lightning address was the second option, and lightning invoice was the fourth option, so on and so forth. So there are some constraints on the USSD platform though, right? One of the major ones is that outputs and inputs are limited to 160 characters, right? Just like SMS. So if you know what a Bolt 11 Lightning invoice is, if you bought a coffee right outside, what you know is that most Lightning invoices are longer than 160 characters. Right? So we cannot use them natively on this device. Because also, how am I going to type out LNBC 11PNWVVP blah blah blah? I don't need to read it all out, right? And yeah, so a user on this device is not able to copy and paste a Bolt 11 Lightning invoice. So what do? We use the beauty of a Lightning address, which looks just like an email, right? And you can go to lightningaddress.com to learn more about it. And so this user is still able to type out Kgothatso at 833.mobi. And so, because that is way less than 160 characters, and I'm still able to tell you, my lightning address is Kgothatso at 833.mobi, and then you are able to send it to me, right? And so everyone remembers it and is able to work with it, right? The other limitation is that the GSM stack, the character set is usually defaults to Latin characters, right? So for languages that don't use Latin characters, we have to Romanize the text, right? Such as Thai. Doesn't use Latin characters. So instead of writing Thai in any other way, we'd write it in Latin characters, similar to the example in the slide, so that we could actually get the full 160 character set. Right? GSM also supports non-Latin characters, but that eats into how many characters you can use. I think it goes as low as 62 characters, right? So we'd like to get as much characters out of it as possible. So yeah, the other constraint is that USSD is actually has a 20-second session timeout. Right? So if I dial the USSD code here, but I don't give an input within 20 seconds, the session times out. Right? And then a new session starts. I think that's what happened when it asked me again for, what was the word? A new, to select language again, even though I had selected English, right? So, yeah, every input a user provides to you, you need to respond to it within, the user needs to respond to your service in 20 seconds or the session dies and they have to start over. So what we do is, of course, some lightning addresses are longer than most, right? Comparing sorry post box 47 at walletofsatoshi.com to Kgothatso at 833.mobi, what you would notice is that sorry post box is 2 words and a number. And yeah, so with the feature phones, if you are switching from typing words to numbers, you probably press a button 3 times just to tell the phone, okay, I'm not using the character pad, I'm using the numpad. You'd probably press it 3 times, and 3 times is eating into your 20 seconds and it will time out. So what we do is allow users to input the username first, which is sorry postbox 47, and they get a full 20 seconds to input that, send it through, and then in the next screen they get to input the domain, which is walletofsatoshi.com, and a new 20 second. And so then the beauty of this is, even if it times out, we have a feature where they can continue the previous session, and they will just need to input either the username or the domain, and we will keep remembering which screen they are on, right? Cool. And that effectively is the Machankura service in a nutshell, right? And just to talk about the logo a bit, because I designed the logo myself. It was one of my favorite designs ever. So what the logo is, it's effectively an old telephone sign, right, within the Bitcoin B sign, right? And even if you look at the Bitcoin B sign, it kind of looks like the old telephone booth, right? So yeah, I love this logo because it emphasizes that, okay, even in a place like Africa, where the internet penetration is, 30% for the entire continent, we still have a workable GSM infrastructure, right? We still have quite a number of people who still use feature phones, and that is a type of stack we could still use to build out digital payments, right? Matter of fact, we have one of the biggest forms of digital payment in Africa is USSD via mobile money, right? 94% of all digital payments happen via USSD in Africa. And primarily because of mobile money, which was started flagship by Safaricom through M-Pesa. And I think also in the Philippines, they have something called Gcash, which is also a different version of mobile money. So each country can implement their own version of mobile money using USSD, right? So yeah, the Machankura just uses Bitcoin as if it's mobile money. So then, to switch it over to something else, right? I'd like a little more crowd participation. There's going to be some graphics on the screen, so feel free to say what you see. Right? What do you see? A cow? Yeah, cool. Yeah, so this is actually generated to be a cow, a bull, because I'm a bull market baby. Right? Started participating actively in Bitcoin in around 2017 when the bull market was raging, and I was like, okay, cool. This is actually something. The numbers going up like they say it would, right? But then something else happened, and it leads to the next image, right? What do you see? Shout it out if you recognize something. I guess people are not seeing anything, but that is a bear, right? So after a bull market, you usually get a bear market. And in 2017, we had like the 2018 bear market. In Jan, the prices plummeted, right? And fun fact, as a bull market baby, I started shitcoining. And what happened was January 2018, everything plummeted. And most of the shitcoins I bought lost so much value that I couldn't trade them on the Binance engine anymore, right? So you know what happens is that Binance implemented a feature where you can sell dust, right? You're not trading it, you're selling it to Binance and they give you BNB in return. And hopefully all your shitcoins will accumulate to enough BNB for you to trade the BNB for Bitcoin. And yeah, so I stopped shitcoining because of the bear market. But the beauty of the bear market is you have the freedom to build, right? You can build almost anything you want in the bear market because most of the media attention is no longer on Bitcoin, well, on crypto anymore, and it's on whatever else is happening at the world at the time, and you could build clearly and you could build interesting things, right? Cool. So what do you see in this image? I can see people mouthing out certain words, but they're not, speaking. You can speak loudly. Thunder. Ah, yeah. So somebody said thunder. It's related to thunder. It's lightning, right? And yeah, so this is Lightning, and Lightning is one of the ways we are scaling Bitcoin today, or one of the best ways, if you ask me, to scale Bitcoin. And Lightning is beautiful because one of the things that happened during the bull market is I would send Bitcoin to people, but most of the people I'd send it to would then say, yo, the Bitcoin you send me, I can't use it because the fee's too high. So Lightning is beautiful because you send it usually over Lightning channels, and Lightning channels don't have the type of fees you would get on chain. And so you could keep sending Bitcoin to many different people via Lightning without paying high channel fees. And so, yeah, this was people usually don't get this, so I'm not going to ask, right? But this is generated with a prompt of a Raspberry Pi, right? And Raspberry Pis are effectively the best devices that highlight how Bitcoin is decentralized. Bitcoin is decentralized because you can run a node on effectively any type of hardware, right? Well, I'm not sure if I can run a Bitcoin node here, but one day I will try. And so a Raspberry Pi is relatively cheap, $5 to $10, maybe even $50 if you get all the specs and all the beautiful things. But Bitcoin is decentralized because on any type of hardware, not too much space, and everything else, not too quick of internet, you can run and fully sync a Bitcoin node. Cool. And what do you see here? Aha, I heard honey badger from Albert that side. And yeah, that is honey badger, one of the spirit animals for Bitcoin. Honey badger doesn't care. So honey badger is, fun fact, in the jungle, no other animal messes with the honey badger. This includes lions, this includes snakes. I think honey badger is also a little immune to snake bites as well, so it can fight off almost any predator. And yeah, so honey badger doesn't care, just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, permissionless network. What I like about Bitcoin is that I could build on Bitcoin without having to worry about what anyone else says, and as long as I'm running my own nodes, the infrastructure will not die. Right? I could also run my own ISP if I want to maintain my connection to the internet as well. Cool. And so this, what do you see here? This one is one of my favorite graphics, personal favorites. A fly? I heard phoenix. Phoenix, I think, is the closest one because it's actually a bird. Right? Mockingbird to be specific. Right? I use this graphic because I'm from a town called Mamelodi. It is directly translated to Mother of Melodies. We love music in South Africa. And yeah, effectively, as I was making these graphics, I had just watched this documentary on Michael Jackson, right? And one of the producers was talking about how they would listen to the music in the studio, right? On studio speakers, very expensive equipment, and it would sound great. But then Michael Jackson would come in with these radio speakers you use in your homes. Like this was back when Thriller was being made. And they would play the same songs, and it wouldn't sound as good. Because, of course, a radio speaker and studio speaker are two different pieces of equipment. So they would go back into the studio, re-record some parts, remix some parts, and make sure that it would sound good even on the radio speaker you have at home. And for me, this is one of the missing elements in the Bitcoin space because you have to be intentional with how your tech is going to be used and your tech is going to be adopted. As intentional as a Michael Jackson was when making his music, because he wanted as many people in the world to enjoy the music that he makes as possible. And yeah, so you got that from Michael Jackson and a few other artists who actually make sure that their music sounds good on any type of sound system. Right? Cool. And yeah, this one is effectively graphic, which is a shout out to all the Bitcoin circular economies in the world. El Salvador being one of the biggest ones because, you know, El Salvador's Bitcoin breach led to Bitcoin being legal tender, or is one of the contributing factors to Bitcoin becoming legal tender in El Salvador. And they did a wonderful job. They are all about community. And, you know, if you're a community-orientated project, adding Bitcoin into the project actually accelerates your efforts, right? Same thing happened for Bitcoin Ekas in South Africa. Same thing happened for Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica. And if you want to start your own circular economy, having a Bitcoin component in it will actually help a lot. Cool. And yeah, so this graphic, I'm kind of running out of time, so you could just, look at it yourself and blah, 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 but I won't ask. And yeah, so this graphic was inspired by Aztecs, right? And Aztecs, if you don't know, there is a QR code implementation based on the Aztec graphics, right? And there is also a QR code company, well, a company that makes great use of QR codes called Azteco as well. No relation to the Aztecs, by the way. And Azteco, I love them because they are fully focused on consumer Bitcoin, right? And they want to make a person acquiring their Bitcoin as easy as possible. It should be as easy as you going to the corner store, giving them cash, getting a voucher, scanning the voucher, and then redeeming Bitcoin. And the other thing I like about them is because not everyone has a phone that can scan a QR code. Right? And they also provide you 16 digits, and then you can just type out the 16 digits on a website or on Machankura, and then the phone and whatever else will redeem the Bitcoin in the background without you needing to know what a Bitcoin address is, blah, 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 blah. So Azteco, great company. And now this is Fast, right? And Fast is one of the ways you can send and spend Bitcoin in a multi-signature format. And on-chain, it will not appear as if it's multi-signature. It will appear like a single signature. Fast is great because hot wallets and cold wallets, you know, you want your Bitcoin on cold wallets. And cold wallets usually are wallets that require more friction, or that have more friction when you want to spend the Bitcoin. Right? So Fast requires more keys, or it could have one key, but you also have the option of adding more keys. But the beauty of it is the privacy it adds, because on-chain it doesn't appear as if it's going to be two or more signers required for a transaction. It appears as single signature. So cool. And Super Saiyan. I have 1 minute, but yeah, this is Project Super Saiyan, and I think this is my last slide. And we want to run a Bitcoin wallet on a smart card. Right? If you don't know, Schnorr signatures actually were designed to run on smart cards. The first paper that introduced Schnorr signatures was called Efficient Digital Signatures on Smart Cards by Schnorr himself. And yeah, I find it like, the legend of the Super Saiyan, where Goku was still, didn't even know that, there were Super Saiyans in the Saiyan race. And yeah, Schnorr signatures were built to run on these cards, and we want to run them on smart cards, SIM cards. So your SIM card will be able to run a Bitcoin wallet because all you need is to program it in Java card. All you need is to send the blockchain data via SMS, encode the SMS, decode the SMS, and make sure that it runs on a very low resource environment. Cool. And yeah, we're going to be in Cape Town, adopting Bitcoin Cape Town, 24th to 25th January next year. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about the work that we do as Machankura, please come through to Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town. It's gonna be a great time, and yeah, a lot of great people are coming through as well. Bitcoin Gas is also involved. If you want to learn more about what they're doing with circular economies in South Africa and helping get other non-profit organizations onboarded, that is what the Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town conference is going to be all about. And yeah, in case you want to contact me, those are my contact details. And thank you very much for having me, and enjoy the rest of the day.